Hello, and welcome to another basketball edition of the Adrienne Ross Show. I already spoke twice yesterday about the disappointing loss the Indiana Fever suffered at the hands of the Chicago Sky and at the hands of Angel Reese's very good game and at the hands of Coach Christy Sides' very poor coaching. I have a little bit more to say. In my last video, I shared a portion of Coach Sides' remarks in the post-game interview. And my takeaway from that was that Caitlyn Clark now has the green light to shoot the lights out. And I was being sarcastic. I noticed from the comments that I obviously didn't communicate well enough because not everybody got it. I wasn't actually saying that Coach Sides really gives her that green light. I'm saying that she got up there at that press conference, and if you want to call it that press conference, the post-game interview, and she specifically said that maybe she was just throwing Caitlyn under the bus, because she basically said she thought that Caitlyn could have taken it to the basket or could have pulled up for the shot. Now, this, of course, is after not running any plays for her, taking the ball out of her hand, and obviously wanting her to play a certain kind of way and not making adjustments. But that's what she said. And so I was sort of joking, saying, okay, Caitlyn, there's your receipt right there. You go, you do you. And then you can turn right back to this, point to this and say, listen to what my coach just said. She said, I really expected her to, I'm not trying to take away any shots. I want her to be aggressive. Meanwhile, she has she had 11 shots in that game, number one scorer, male or female in NCAA history, and she has 11 shots, and you go away from her in the last play, blah, blah, blah. We talked about that yesterday. So I went over Coach Sides' comment there, but I didn't go over Caitlyn Clark's post-game comments because I hadn't seen them yet, but I've seen them now. And Caitlyn said something. She too was asked about not taking shots. And she gave this answer. And I just want to say this. If she actually means what she just said, then the Indiana Fever is in a lot worse trouble than even we anticipated. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Caitlyn, today you were passing the ball really well. You hit a few deep threes. I think in the final 7 minutes, you shot the ball twice. You maybe wish that on some of those possessions, you kind of just took it yourself and maybe hoisted another deep three.
I mean, sure, you can wish it. I'm sure there was an opportunity or two for me to probably attempt another shot there at the end, but I trust my teammates. Obviously, 13 assists, that means my teammates scored off of 13 of my passes. Like, it's a really great number. So I'm going to give them the ball every time and give them an opportunity to score. I believe in them. And obviously, Kels had a great game. I thought AD was really good.
All right, that's enough. Did you hear what he said? He pointed out she didn't take many shots, asked her if she would wish she had done things differently. Her body language is sort of, well, you can wish, but I had 13 assists. I trust my teammates. And this is the part I'm talking about. I'm going to give them the ball every time.
Really great number. So I'm going to give them the ball every time and give them an opportunity to score. I believe in them. And obviously.
Now, if Caitlyn Clark meant what she just said, this Indiana Fever team is in a lot more trouble than we thought. And we already realized that they're in trouble. But they're in a lot more trouble if she meant what she just said. I'm going to pass the ball to my teammates every time because I trust them, she said. Made me think about Kobe, who early in his career said he ain't trust nobody. He didn't trust his teammates. And Kobe had to make some adjustments on that and learn to trust people. But Kobe made it plain. It's you or me. I trust me more than I trust you. Why? Because of my track record and because of the effort, the work, the training, all of that I have put into the game. So when it comes down to the wire, I'm going to trust me over you. And we just heard what Coach Side said. I pointed it out yesterday. She made it clear that she thought that Caitlyn should have taken the shot. She thought that she should have driven to the basket or taken the shot. She thought she should have been the one. Okay? But Caitlyn said, I'm going to pass it every time. Let's hope that Caitlyn was giving the media savvy answer to the question. Let's hope that Caitlyn wasn't wanting to throw her coach under the bus, didn't want to throw her teammates under the bus. And, you know, I kind of wonder, because just look at her body language there. She's sort of like, well, you know, you can wish. Just look at it there. You can see it for yourself. So maybe that was her way of not saying, well, yeah, but this coach actually acts like she doesn't want me to shoot. So I did what she had me doing. I passed. Okay. Anyway, the body language might speak to that. I don't know, but I am going to say this. Just taking her at her word for what she said, she might have to learn the hard way, or she is already learning the hard way. But even after that loss, even after the way it came down, she still sat there and said, I'm going to give it to my teammates every time. So somebody needs to give Caitlyn the memo. No, you cannot do that. You already passed. You did have 13 assists, but Caitlyn, you can't just look at the 13 assists, which was wonderful and record setting, but you should have even had more assists. But they didn't make the plays at key points in the game or certain points in the game. And so one might say you only had 13 assists, which was phenomenal, but you could have had more. So when Caitlyn Clark is going to have to learn that, no, I'm not going to give it to my teammates every time. I'm going to be more like Kobe, and I'm going to trust myself, because I know my track record. I know why I was drafted number 1, and I know what I'm capable of doing. And so I've got to step up and be willing to make those plays. This also reminded me of something I wrote about in my book. If you haven't checked out my book, somebody left me a comment and told me that they ordered my book. This book is on Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon. It's called Push Your Way to Purpose: How to Get From Where You Are to Where You're Meant to Be. It's one of 3 books I've written. And in this book, it's talking about purpose. It's talking about fulfilling your purpose. And I use a lot of stories, not just from my upbringing, but also from my days of teaching, and also experiences, decisions I had to make, hard decisions I had to make, stuff that I learned along the way and did along the way in my coaching. And so I just want to share part of this because it reminded me of what I'm talking about right now, what Caitlyn Clark said. Raise your expectations. Chapter 8 of my book. It's called Raise Your Expectations. And in this, I give several keys to doing that, several keys that are important in order for you to raise your expectations. And I just pulled in this part of the book, a few parts of the book where I talk about coaching as an example. This section of that chapter is called Believe in Your Team. I'm going to share this with you. This short portion. It says, added to believing in the mission and believing in yourself is believing in your team. When you have a task to tackle, you need to expect that you can complete it successfully. When you are working with others, each person has a role to play. So your level of expectation or confidence is directly proportional to your belief in your teammates. Even if you know that you individually are well equipped, suspecting that others are not will keep you from having high expectations, and that's a problem. I'm ready. I got this. I prepared myself. Well, isn't that special? But look at the people to your left and your right. Are they equally ready? If you are not assured of that, you cannot raise your expectations, which affects your performance. I used to tell my basketball players that every time they took the court, they had to believe they were the better team and that they were going to win. But there were only 2 ways for that to occur. 1, every player had to know she had done everything she could to prepare to win. And 2, every player had to know that everyone else had done everything to prepare to win. If either of those two is missing, belief could not be at its maximum. Thus, expectation could not either. As much as some of them played pickup ball in the park or travel with AAU teams or practice free throws in their backyards during the offseason, they had to believe their teammates demonstrated the same kind of commitment. Once again, I've turned to sports to share a lesson, but this also applies to every area that requires collaboration, a school project, a marriage, or a road trip. Yes, a road trip. Most of us won't even close our eyes and rest in a car when we don't trust the person behind the wheel is a good driver. We may have been driving for 8 hours and then switch roles, allowing our friend to take our place as the driver so we can rest for when we have to take over again. But we can't get that rest when we believe the person driving lacks good judgment, cannot see clearly, or is just plain careless. Our expectation of arriving safely is low if it exists at all. There you have it. This is just a portion of it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe you're going to win. And to believe you're going to win, you have to trust your preparation and you have to trust the preparation of those around you. If either of those is missing, it affects how you show up. It affects how you perform. And Caitlyn Clark, I'm saying that to say this, okay? She's got to be able, let's start with the first one. Being able to look at yourself and say, have I met the challenge? Have I done my part to prepare for this moment? And if I have, let me start there. Then I can trust that I can step up. I can raise my expectations. I can step forward and I can be the one who takes the big shot. I don't want to be the one who says, come hell or high water, I'm going to give it to my teammate every time. I'm not talking about being a ball hog. We see where that has gotten this team. I'm not talking about never passing the ball. I'm talking about recognizing the key moments, knowing that you put in the work, you've done the work, and knowing that you have the ability and your track record shows that. Who was the player, even after a win, who was not satisfied with the way she played, and when everybody else went out to get something to eat, who was the person who stayed behind with her boyfriend and took shots and worked on her game? It was Caitlyn Clark. I'm not saying that everybody else is a slouch, but I am saying that this girl has put in the work. And so I hope she didn't mean it when she says, I'm going to pass, I'm going to give it to my teammates every time. No, I'm hoping that was just playing the media. That was just not wanting to call out Coach Sides in the way that she had handled things. Maybe, I don't know. I know she wanted to give him kudos because in order for her to have 13 assists, they had to complete those 13 plays. So I get it. But Caitlyn Clark, if you're listening, you can't, no. You're not going to give the ball up every time. You're not. At least you shouldn't. And if you are, we got a lot to be worried about. So let me know what you think in the comments respectfully. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you're interested in my book, like I said, it's Push Your Way to Purpose, How to Get From Where You Are to Where You're Meant to Be. It was published in 2017. It talks about various things about my life. And then I incorporate things about teaching and things about coaching. And I call it my baby. I really do, because I'm driven by the concept of purpose. And so check it out on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It's also an audiobook read in my own voice if you prefer that. All right, I'll catch you next time. God bless you abundantly.